All right, y'all. What we've got here is a Quantum Optix Model 10 spinning reel. It's a small ultralight spinning reel, and it's marketed falsely somewhat. They say it's a 3-bearing reel. Well, ordinarily you don't include the infinite anti-reverse in the bearing count. Ordinarily they would say it was a 2+1 bearing reel, the +1 being the infinite anti-reverse, because it's a needle bearing setup. That's a one-way bearing, and it really is not normally included in the ball bearing count unless you say it's a +1. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So this really should be marketed as a 2+1 reel on the bearing count on it, and but it's a good reel. And what I'm going to be doing with this reel, as you'll see here in this video, is I'm going to be replacing 3 bushings in the reel with ball bearings. So in effect, what we'll be doing is taking it from a 2+1 reel to a 5+1. It'll have 5 ball bearings and 1 needle roller bearing that does the infinite anti-reverse. It's pretty simple. Hopefully you'll be able to follow along in the video, and when I get done talking, I'll just probably play some music in the background. If anybody has any questions, I think this is pretty straightforward, but if anybody has any questions about how you do any of this, leave a comment below, or if you have any thoughts about anything, just let me know. But basically all I'm doing is taking the reel apart, pulling out the bushings and replacing them with bearings. I measured the bushings in advance, and I ordered some bearings to replace the bushings through eBay, straight from China. They're cheap ball bearings. They've got some iron in them because they're magnetized. I mean, they're not magnetized, but they're magnetic, so magnets will stick to them. So you don't want to use those cheap ball bearings like that, in a saltwater reel. But for what I do in freshwater, they're just fine. I've used them for quite a while now on different reels and never had any problems with them. And I'm spending about $3 and some change on the bearings. I ordered a total of about 20 bearings, and there's 2 different sizes here. I got 10 of each one. I always buy extras and keep them for other upgrades in the future if I find another reel that uses the same size bearing, which is pretty common. I just didn't. I was out of one of the bearings and that I normally have that would have fit this one, and the other one I didn't have at all. But I'm replacing the 2 line roller bushings with ball bearings, so the line roller will have ball bearings instead of bushings. And I'm also replacing one of the drive gears. The main drive gear has a bearing on one side and a bushing on the other. I'm replacing that bushing with a bearing, so it's on each side of the main drive gear now. It will have bearings on each side of that. So adding 3 bearings to the system would make it a 5+1 bearing count on it, and it increased the smoothness of the reel. And I don't mention it in this video, but just one note here: the reel originally came with 2 spacers, washers on the main drive gear. After I got it all back together, I was feeling a little bit of gear meshing, so I ended up having to take it back apart and remove one of the spacer washers. So it had 2 originally, and I ended up using 1 because the bearing I put in there was just a touch thicker than the bushing that it replaced. So I needed to remove one of those spacer washers. But hopefully everything else in the video is pretty straightforward, and I will just probably play some music on it through the rest of the video. But thank y'all for watching, and if anybody has any questions or comments, just leave them below and I will get back.